Yes, people, what is good? Welcome back to my channel. Listen, it's Tapping Tobes here, and I'm here to bring you some more confirmed news. I don't do if, buts, or maybes. I only do absolutes, and that's what you're going to see for most of this summer. I'm only going to comment on stuff that I know is guaranteed to happen, and this is a guarantee. Mathys Tel is going to be a permanent Tottenham Hotspur player. Reading the news now, that's broken from Fabrizio and Christian Falk and a few others over the last couple of hours. We've got the here we go. Mathys Tel is going to be a permanent Tottenham Hotspur player for what looks like, let me bring up the fee right now. It's 35 million euro on top of the 10 million euro loan fee that we paid in January. So all in all, Spurs will have paid 45 million euros for Mathys Tel, who turned 20 on the 27th of April. So that is, in pounds, that's around 38.3 million pounds. Right. My verdict on Tel. What do I think about the Tel signing? Well, let me start off by saying this. I like Mathys Tel, or Mathys Tel, however you want to pronounce it. I like him. I think he's a good player. I was happy with the signing when we made it in January. And he was someone who I felt we could sort of build off, right? I think he's strong. I think he's got good P&P. I think he's able to find space to shoot in the box. I think he's good at striking the ball with both feet. I don't think he's afraid to shoot as well. We've seen him pop off with some shots on his left, pop off with some shots on his right. We've actually seen him play on both flanks for Tottenham. I remember him when he was on the right-hand side against Fulham. He played quite well against Fulham. He's got good skill, and he's got the right mindset. Yeah, he's a player who obviously backs himself, went to one of the biggest clubs in the world in Bayern Munich at a young age, and now you could say he's obviously taken a step down to join Tottenham, but he's got the willingness to play for us, right? He actually wants to stay at this club. So there's a lot to work off with Mathys Tel. There's a lot to like, but if I'm being honest, I've got mixed views on the transfer. Whilst I think all of those things about Tel, off the fact that he also, in addition to the fact that he is someone who's highly rated and has got the potential upside, I do think that we're basically clinging ourselves to another potential player, and this was a window for me where we needed to get guaranteed established quality. I knew we were going to sign Tel personally. I know I've been going on about signing Mbeumo and Eze. That's what I want. That's what I would have liked, right? I would have rather signed Mbeumo and Eze into this attack than sign Mathys Tel. But what's more realistic for Tottenham is we sign Tel and then we allocate the funds on one of Mbeumo or Eze. And I feel like that's going to be the case this summer. Now, the reason why I have mixed views is what I've just mentioned. He's young. Whilst I mentioned all of those good things about Tel, he didn't exactly set the world alight in his spell at Tottenham. I thought his loan spell at Tottenham, it started off really badly. I felt for the first 4 or 5 weeks, it was really bad football from Tel. Nothing was really coming off. First touch was loose. Dribbling was a bit baggy. I know he bagged a nice goal against Aston Villa, but just wasn't really playing well enough for Tottenham. But I do think he improved as his loan spell went on and on and on, and his performances were getting better and better and better, right? But he's young. It showed that he's still got a fair amount of refinement to his game that he needs to work on. And he also isn't, how can I put this? He also isn't seasoned in having to carry that responsibility for a team. He didn't have to do that at Bayern, and let's be honest, he didn't really have to do that at Tottenham, right? Ange Postecoglou benched him after the first couple of, I would say a good 5-6 weeks, and then brought him back into the team towards the end of the season. I think now, when there's a potential that Son may leave this summer, we're playing Champions League football against better opposition. We're gonna have to play the Premier League. Then we also want to try and play in the Super Cup. Then we also want to try and go as far as possible in the League Cup, FA Cup. You're looking for players who are more established, and that's one thing you probably can't say about Tel in comparison to maybe a 24 or 25-year-old, right? If I compare him to his peers, he's way more experienced than Odegaard, for sure, right? He's probably more experienced than most 19 or 20-year-olds. but he's 19 or 20 years old. We already have a 19-year-old in Odebear. We already have a 17-year-old in Mikey Moore. Two players who prefer to play on the left-hand side. The latter of which will probably be loaned out. I can't see Mikey Moore staying in and around the squad this season. I imagine he'll be loaned out. But then that leaves you with Odebear 19, Tel 20 years old, and a declining Son who we already have come to the conclusion he cannot be a regular starter for Tottenham next season. So then you're banking on a 19 and 20-year-old holding it down together on the left-hand side for you, where we have to navigate our way through all of those competitions I mentioned. It's not an easy task at all. And you would much rather want to be safe, and you'd much rather put that responsibility in the hands of a player who's already shown themselves to be doing it in a top league. And what I mean by doing it is they're already hitting double figures. They're already causing defenders a lot of unrest. Their game is a lot more refined. They're not making as much elementary mistakes as an Odebear or Tel would make in the final third, right? So that's why I have mixed views on it. The talent is there. I have no doubt he'll be a good player. And if this was a signing that was made off the back of an established starting caliber left-sided player, I'd have no qualms. But we signed Odebear last summer to play off the left. We've now signed Tel to play off the left or play through the middle. We have Mikey Moore coming up through the ranks who also wants to play off the left or through the middle. Well, in a 10. So we're stockpiling a lot of kids who all need development, who all need patience, who all need time, who all need all of these things. And I don't know about you as a Spurs fan, but me, I'm running out of patience. Not necessarily with these players per se, but I'm running out of patience with regards to my expectations of this team. I can no longer sit by and watch us have to bank on kids. I want to see something now, especially off the back of that Europa League win. So that's why I have mixed views on it. It's a good signing. It's a good fee. But is this the signing that we needed right now? I'm not so sure it is. However, he's here and he's a player that I like. So it is what it is, right? Thomas Frank, you got to get more out of him in comparison to your predecessor, Ange. I didn't like the way in which Ange utilised our attackers. I thought that our attacking system was far too rigid under Ange Postecoglou. And if there's one thing I mentioned in my last video about Thomas Frank, and one thing I observed at Brentford, this guy has found a way to get the best out of all of his attackers. Sade, Wissa, Mbeumo, and Ivan Toney. They've banged. Ollie Watkins, before he joined, that was under Frank. They've banged. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think it's time for us to put our faith in the manager getting the best out of these players now that the club have made their decision with Tel. Whether you're happy with the signing or not, we're now having to bank on Thomas Frank getting the best out of Tel, and we're having to bank on the likes of Tel and Odebear making another step up, getting that incremental development in their game. But what's most important for me is this Tel move. It's come at a relatively low price in comparison to what you normally would pay for an attacker. £38 million, that's not a lot for an attacker in this market. It's not. So that tells me that Spurs have to be gearing up for another attacker to come into this team, because we need another attacker. What this tells me is you've taken the cheaper option and you're banking on Tel's potential, but this has to be supplemented by an established attacker to come into the team, preferably on the other side. I know we've been linked with Mbeumo. There's definitely interest there. Frank is obviously the manager now, so there's more appeal for Mbeumo to come to the club, but it remains to be seen as to whether he will choose us, as to whether we will really go all out. But I do think we have the capital to do so, and I do think the interest is there for Tottenham to do that deal, right? I think if he shows that desire to join Tottenham over Man United, we will do that deal, and we now have to do that deal. Because we've made this signing with Tel, we have to do that deal, right? We have to get in another established attacker into this team. If you get another established attacker into this team, then yes, okay, we're working with essentially two kids on the left. But then if we keep Son to have around the team, to come in and out of the team, then with Solanke, then with a new attacker, then with Brennan Johnson, then with Kulusevski as well as an auxiliary right-handed option, then the attack does look better. It does look better. It's not where we ideally want it to be, but it does look better. So that's what I'm banking on. That's what I'm expecting now. We need to go out now and sign an established attacker to come into this team alongside Tel in the summer. And then it can't stop there. We then need to go out and sign an established midfielder to play at the base of our midfield, to help progress play, comfortable on the ball, doesn't treat the ball like a hot potato, can break lines with their passing. That's what we need. And then we need the attacker. We need the defender at centre back, or left-sided defender, sorry, that can cover two positions. So for me, the ball again is in Levy's court. It's in Tottenham's court. You've signed Tel. You've banked on his potential. You're banking on Thomas Frank getting the best out of him. I can accept that one. Wouldn't have been my preferred move, but I can accept it because I do like the player. Now you have to meet your end of the bargain and supplement Tel alongside Odebear and a very young Tottenham team with an established level of quality to come into this attack, right? Go and get us that attacker, whether it's Mbeumo or Eze. Go and get us that attacker because we desperately need it, right? Having Tel alone is not enough. The ball is in your court again, Daniel Levy and Tottenham Hotspur. This is signing number 2 or signing number 1 of the summer, right? As per my last video, there's about 3 or 4 more signings that we need. We need that right winger. We need that midfielder. We need that defender. And then depending on what happens with Romero, we may need another defender. Tic-tac.